Okay, boys and girls, so today's content objective is going to be investigate and compare how animals and plants undergo a series of orderly changes in their diverse life cycles, such as tomato plants, frogs, and lady beetles. Now, y'all say it with me as we repeat it. Investigate and compare how animals and plants undergo a series of orderly changes in their diverse life cycles, such as tomato plants, frogs, and lady beetles. Very good, class. Before we get started on that, in order to understand the parts of a frog from the anchor chart that we just created, it is important to know all of the changes in its life are. You need to understand the vocabulary that is associated to the frog. Before we get started with the vocabulary, let's review over the anchor chart that we just created of the life cycle of the frog. Raise your hand if you can tell me what the first step of our life cycle was. Very good, you are right. This is going to be the first cycle, or the first part of the life cycle of a frog. It says eggs. Oh, there's one of our vocabulary words because we highlighted it earlier. Eggs are laid in a big group. Class, repeat it with me. Eggs are laid in a big group. Very good. And who can tell me the second part of the life cycle of a frog? Very good, you are correct. We said that a tadpole hatches from each egg. Say it with me. A tadpole hatches from each egg. Very good, very good. Who can tell me the third stage of the life cycle of a frog? Oh, I love it. Y'all are doing so good at remembering our anchor chart. Say it with me. The tadpole grows back legs. Ooh, what vocabulary word does Miss Wilhelm have highlighted on our anchor chart? You are correct. Back legs is our vocabulary word for the third step of the life cycle of a frog. Who can tell me the fourth step of the life cycle of a frog? Good job. Then the tadpole grows front legs. And there's another vocabulary word, front legs. And what would be our fifth and last step of the life cycle of a frog? You are exactly right. The gills disappear and the frog moves to land. Very good. And what was the two vocabulary words we have highlighted in our picture? You are correct. The gills is one vocabulary word, and frog. But just so we know and have memorization of what our vocabulary words are, we are going to create a chart, a description chart for our lesson today. So today's lesson, we're going to learn the specific vocabulary words to help us learn the specific parts of a frog. While we are learning this vocabulary, we are also going to learn how to write a description. So this activity is going to teach us vocabulary words specific to our unit, as well as teach us how to write a description. When we are writing a description, we need to first get organized. And that means we always need 1, an introduction, 2, a body, and 3, a conclusion. Always those 3 parts. So what do we need? Right. Repeat it and say it with me one more time. Introduction, body, and conclusion. Very good, very good. So let's go ahead and get started on the introduction part of our description chart. So for the introduction, we are going to want to write the definitions of our vocabulary words. We have frog eggs, tadpole, back legs, front legs, and frog. Who can tell me what the definition is for frog eggs? Oh, very good. So class, let's write that as the definition. A cluster of floating eggs called egg masses. Very good. So now, what could be the body of our description for frog eggs? Oh, you are exactly right. We could always refer back to our anchor chart and look at the picture of frog eggs. We know they look like a bunch of little circles with dots in the middle of them. Who can tell me what those dots are? You're exactly right. They are going to be the tadpoles that are inside of those eggs. If you haven't labeled yet, go ahead and draw an arrow to the egg and put tadpoles. Now, why would Miss Wilhelm have an arrow pointed right here? Oh, you are right, because a frog egg is a cluster of floating eggs. What does it mean to float? Very good, it does mean on top of water. So we would label it water. And then we would go to the conclusion. We want the conclusion just like the description in our introduction, but in our own words. Miss Wilhelm is going to put masses of floating eggs. You put what you would like to put in your own words. Now let's go to tadpole. The definition that we have wrote for tadpole is the larval stage of a frog, and it lives under water. Oh, there's that arrow again pointing to the water. What does this mean? Right, we could label it as tadpole under water. Who remembers what the tadpole has before it becomes a frog that we're pointing to right here? Very good. You remember from the description in our anchor chart that those are gills. Oh, very good. You also made another connection. Tails. Miss Wilhelm is calling this the baby stage because it lives under the water still and it has no legs. Just like when we were babies, we could not walk yet. There's that other arrow. Let's go ahead and label it water. For back legs. The definition for back legs is it has 5 toes with webbed feet to help them swim. And there's our gills again. Why would I have an arrow pointing to its leg? Very good, because that is our vocabulary word, back leg. And Miss Wilhelm put it only has 2 back legs with webbed feet. Front legs. The definition for front legs is it has 4 toes and very small legs. It does not have much use except to balance. So we can write front legs where the arrow is pointing to the front legs, and back legs where the arrows are pointing to the back legs. My definition is this frog, the tadpole now has all 4 legs. The front legs have